victorious in yesterday's race from Victor Newman after Richard Morris had come through. A good drive from him to take the lead, but then spun it away at Oggies, unseen by our cameras. But the 5-second board is raised, the red lights turn on, they turn out now, and the race gets underway, and it's an even start between the two of them on the front row, Richard Morris and Ryan Yarrow. But no, Richard Morris has dropped back a long way back at the start, so the problem there is he was going up through the gears by the looks of it. So it's Ryan Yarrow that's taken the lead of the race. Richard Morris drops back to 4 cars from the end, really, so this effectively, I think, is ending his championship hopes. Ryan Yarrow it is that has the advantage then, the driver from Rochdale, as they turn their way through Wilson Hairpin for the first time. 67 Victor Newman is in second place. They're coming together there, Josh.
Yeah, Colin Spicer got rather robustly taken off the road there, didn't he? I think Jonathan McGill was having a moment himself, and unfortunately Colin Spicer was on his outside and therefore had an off. But there is the leader, Ryan Yarrow, being chased by Victor Newman, and James Walker going really well in third position. He finished 9th yesterday, but it was actually quick at the end of the race, which has given him a good grid position here, and is amongst these two newer built cars of Yarrow and of Newman as they make their way down towards Hamilton. But good exit there for the leader, Ryan Yarrow, trying to win the championship here. He's won, 3 of these races, I think, now this season.
4 with yesterday.
Right, so 4 race wins for Ryan Yarrow, and this might be a 5th the way he's going at the start of this lap.
Yep, according to this weekend, Richard Morris and Ryan Yarrow had 3 race wins each. It looked like it was going to be 4-3 to Morris, but then things turned around towards the end of it. Well, literally they turned around in the case of Richard Morris, unfortunately, who now has to try and find his way back up the order here. He's there just ahead of the number 36 car, which is that of Ian Kempson, the Contour. So a lot further back than he would have been expecting to be.
So there's Richard Miles. He's 4th, I think, isn't he? Stephen Dean 5th. And Jonathan McGill 6th. So yes, Richard Morris well out of contention, isn't he?
Carl Austin's made up good ground on this opening lap because he started right at the back of the field on row 8.
He did this at Silverstone. His start was absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, though, then had an incident quite soon afterwards. Richard Morris is almost last, isn't he? There's only a couple of cars behind him.
He is. I wonder if there's a problem with the car. I know he had a misfire during qualifying yesterday, so I wonder if maybe something like that has recurred. Over the line, though, comes our race leader, Ryan Yarrow, to complete lap number 1. And in second place, it is the car of number 67, isn't it, I think, in second?
Yeah.
Victor Newman. And then, there we go, there's Johnny McGill, there's Colin Chapman, and as I say, 200th race in Sports 1000 RGB for Colin Chapman, so that's quite a landmark. He's been racing it almost since it started.
The championship's come on quite some ways in those times, hasn't it? You know, I remember when I saw the first race, a lot of them were front engine cars.
Yeah.
You had 7 type cars there now, but now the car's more sports prototypes, and that's why the name change came, didn't it? A couple of years ago.
RGB was for Road Going Bike Engine Sports Cars. That was the original title of the championship, and as you can see, it's moved on a long way from those origins. I think Colin's first car was a Fisher Fury, I think, in the championship. Anyway, there's Michael Roots in the number 5 car. Long-time kart racer, a couple of seasons in low-cost racing as well, gets past Ian Kempson and Johnny McGill, so makes up a couple of places there, or does he? Not quite getting past McGill, and Colin Spicer's in problems by the looks of it, problems with that car as he came out of Agostini Hairpin. It suddenly slowed, so Roots has got through now. You can see Morris at the rear of that little group, and he's struggling to get past. There's a bit of a brush there between Phil Hutchins and Ian Kempson. I think Morris will try and take advantage of that on the inside line. He'll go through, but there's then a bit of a touch there with the 36 car of Kempson as he was going through, but Morris does make up the place.
Yeah, so trying to get back into the top 10 he is. Tom Johnston, he made a good start in the Danny Andrew Mattel. He's got himself into 8th position. There he is, just ahead of the similar car of Michael Roots, who went well at the beginning of yesterday's race, didn't he? And then dropped away somewhat, and didn't make a good start to this one either. This time, so he's doing the opposite to yesterday, and he's making his way through the order. Like Richard Morris was pushing on, he was using all the curb, all the road on the exit of that corner, but he's only at Corham now, and the leaders have already completed lap 2. 2 minutes 10.7 for Ryan Yarrow. Change for third there. Richard Miles, fastest lap of the race, 2:09.1. 1.5 seconds quicker than the leader, goes third.
Yeah, he was in good form yesterday as well, Rich Miles, wasn't he, on his seasonal debut in the Sports 1000. We've seen him out in these cars before. Not that often, though, but he's usually been quick when he has been out.
Interestingly, he took up the option to do this morning's untimed practice session. They're all the BMWs and Club Enduro cars around him, so nobody who raced yesterday took up that option to do a bit of testing. So I wonder if he learnt anything there. It was damp this morning.
Yeah.
And he's obviously going really quickly at the start of this race. He started 7th, he's up to 3rd now.
Richard Morris has made up a place on this lap ahead of Johnny McGill, I can see there, and McGill's going to lose out to Phil Hutchins as well. And you've got Michael Roots and Tom Johnston there. Tom Johnston, retirement from yesterday's race. That's in the Danny Andrew Mittel that he was looking to sell. Morris getting ahead of him as well now. So Michael Roots and Richard Morris, two quick drivers really, who are a little bit out of position here.
Yes, and different stories to their reasoning, I think, to get into where they are at the moment, but they're both looking to go forwards. And Colin Chapman has been passed by Michael Roots, so that's 6th for the Mattel. Now car 5, Roots. Chapman is still ahead of Morris. You can see the two different bodyworks on those spires. And Tom Johnson, who was going well, has had a spin now, so he's dropped further back. Here is Morris. Then it's a longer car, really, isn't it? That GT3 20S that Morris is in compared to the much earlier car of Colin Chapman.
Yeah, Colin's had a few different cars over his Sports 1000 career. Rich Miles now with Victor Newman then for 2nd position, and not actually that far behind Ryan Yarrow either. 1.29 seconds was the gap from 1st to 2nd at the beginning of the lap. It looks kind of similar now as they are coming through to complete lap number 3 of this 20-minute race.
Of course, Richard Miles was 3 seconds behind, wasn't he, at the start of the lap to the leader, and that gap certainly come down.
Yeah, let's see what lap times he achieves this time as they cross the line of 2:07.61, so it's 1.4 seconds quicker than Newman, who did a 2.9 dead on that lap. Yarrow did a 2:09.53. James Walker a 2:10.20. Rest of the cars yet to come through as Miles goes up the inside of Newman and he gets 2nd place away at Wilson Hairpin, and he's not far behind now Ryan Yarrow. So could we see another change before the end of this race? There's still 13 minutes left to go, so I think there's every chance that we could do.
But he's caught him already, hasn't he? And he's going to go past him already as well, so that took a lot less time than we expected. Richard Miles then takes the race lead. He brakes late. Can he get the car stopped for the hairpin? Kind of, perhaps a bit wider than he was anticipating, but it's worked okay. So Richard Miles, who is clearly the quickest driver in this race, has taken the lead on lap 4 from 7th on the grid, and he's just pulling away really rapidly. We're going quicker than we were in the race yesterday. We're currently 10 seconds away, though, from the lap record. Yeah,
there's often been a driver that I thought if he could get out there for a sort of concerted string of races, he could be a real contender. He's really quick in the right conditions, so good to see that Rich getting out there into the lead, and see if he can pull away now from the rest of them.
Roots and Morris 5th and 6th now. We're going to have some clear tracks. It'll be interesting to watch their lap times.
Colin Chapman getting ahead of Stephen Dean for 12th place there on the way into Agostini.
Chapman must have had an issue then, because was he not a bit further up? He had a slow last lap from Chapman, about 10 seconds off his best, so he obviously had a problem. Here's the battle of a second though. This is Ryan Yarrow under pressure from Victor Newman. So it looks like Yarrow's just going to have the 4 wins, but has he had a win at each venue? He has, hasn't he? He won on the 200 circuit here in July. He won at Silverstone. He won at Anglesey as well as yesterday. Up the curb was Newman on the inside of the corner, and up the curb on the outside of the corner was Ryan Yarrow. Not sure if either of those lines were particularly what the driver was looking for. But what it has ended up is in the two cars side by side as they complete the 4th lap. But it's 67, Victor Newman, the Mattel, that goes ahead of the Spire as they turn into Richie's, and up to 2nd, but 4 seconds behind the leader.
2:05.47 that time for Rich Miles, 4 seconds faster than Victor Newman, who is back into 2nd place then, because he's got ahead of the previous race leader Ryan Yarrow. But Ryan really doing enough here as far as his championship is concerned, taking 3rd position. That would give him 24 points if he stays there.
Richard Morris was side by side with Michael Roots across the line, and Morris is the second quickest driver on the circuit, and he's pretty much 2 seconds faster than those ahead, but he's a long way behind Ryan Yarrow here, some 20 seconds. So
he's a good racer, is Richard, but so often he's had to do this and had to sort of make a comeback, because often his starts haven't been great. But today's example, something clearly went wrong, and he dropped way back towards the end of the field. Possibly didn't like the conditions on the first lap, but he seems to have found the sweet spot now, and as you say, is the second fastest man out there, albeit still 2 seconds slower than Rich Miles.
This about of a 7th. Not sure if Phil Hutchins' car's got a bit of damage on the rear of it. He's, though, chasing after Cole Austin. And again, you can see the two different bodyworks on these spires that were designed in slightly different eras, and Austin gets sideways, and the Hutchins car then is on the inside line, and Phil Hutchins will gain 7th position as they turn into Hamilton, a driver that was on the podium here last season. Yeah,
Carl Austin was running up in 5th place at one point, but he's dropped back a few positions now. Again, possibly his car set up ideally for the conditions that we had right at the start, but it is changing quite quickly now. You can see it's still damp offline, but there's definitely now a drier racing line.
It does make you wonder if it is set up and tyre choice perhaps that is the reason for some of these different lap times, which you wouldn't otherwise expect.
Which Miles can tell you has gone across the line to complete his 5th lap with 9 minutes of the race left to go.
2:04.8 now, so that is 7 seconds off of a lap record pace that was set by Billy Albone a few seasons ago.
Yeah, and 6 seconds faster than yesterday's fastest lap by Richard Morris as well.
Tom Johnston has got himself on the back of Ian Kempson here. Kempson going pretty well, isn't he, inside the top 10 in the contour.
Yeah, and you can see that just looks like a much taller car, doesn't it, than the Mattel that's just behind it.
Fastest lap for Richard Morris now, 2:04.7. He's 6 seconds a lap quicker than his championship rival. Could he get back into championship contention here?
No, I don't think so, really. I think he really needs to win and hope Yarrow has a problem. He's not going to win the race because he's 25 seconds off the lead with 8 minutes to go.
Now, if he didn't have that bad start, it would certainly been a possibility, wouldn't it? 2:04.73 was that best lap, as into 9th position goes Tom Johnson around the outside of Ian Kempson into Ritchie's. So Morris is 14 seconds behind Walker, 4 seconds a lap fast, so there's still 8 minutes to go, so just under half the race to go. Can he gain any more places? He's got a lot of time to find. Michael Roots, even though he's been outshadowed by Richard Morris, he's lapping quickly, isn't he? Much quicker than Newman, Yarrow and Walker.
Yeah. 7 3/4 minutes left to go. There is the 36 car of Kempson. Orange machine, which he's driven for a few seasons now in the Sports 1000 Championship.
Looks like we've lost Jonathan McGill. He only completed 3 laps.
Johnston going quite wide there, using all of the roads and a bit more as he went through Hamilton's that time, heading up onto the tail of Carl Austin through August. So Carl Austin might lose another place here before the end, as conditions have changed. I think that really has favoured tyres and setup, as you were saying, Josh. One over the other as the race has gone on.
Richard Miles has now bettered Richard Morris's lap, 2:04.2, but of course when Morris gets back round that might change around again. Richard Miles 10 seconds ahead of Victor Newman now with 7 minutes to go, so that could be a 10-lap race this, couldn't it?
Might squeeze 10 out of it, yeah.
4 laps to go. Ryan Yarrow's almost been caught by James Walker for 3rd, and they're both being caught by Richard Morris by 6 seconds. A 2:02.7 for Richard Morris, and he's kind of bringing Michael Roots with him, and Roots is the second quickest car on the track, so he's also quicker than Richard Miles, the race leader.
Yeah, so a very odd race this in the way that it's evolved. 6 minutes or so left to go. Rich Miles leading, Victor Newman second, Ryan Yarrow in 3rd place, and Ryan, testament to him and the work that he did over the winter to get the car set up well for this season's championship assault. It looks like all the hard work paying off, running, I think it was an old Jason Stowe spare engine in his car, 2008 engine, and it's really the setup that seems to have made the difference for him on the chassis this year, on the suspension and so forth. There's Kempson still, number 36 in 10th place, turning his way through with Colin Chapman right behind. We'd like to get him to get into the top 10 at least, wouldn't it, in the 200th race that he's had in Sports 1000. He's often had much higher finishes than that over the years. But top 10 would be good. Tom Johnston heading into the distance. Now here is Victor Newman in second place. Ryan Yarrow, I should say, in third. James Walker fourth. And then you can see Richard Morris in fifth position. Now, how far behind James Walker was Richard Morris at the start of the lap? It was eight and a bit seconds behind James Walker. I don't think he's 8 and a bit seconds now.
But he's not caught the 6 seconds that he did on the previous lap either, I don't think.
No, I don't think he has. So he's made general progress in the right direction, but with only 5 minutes to go. I'm not quite sure how many more places he'll be making up. Got a driving standards flag, as you can see, being shown to someone. That might well be for exceeding track limits. We can't tell you, though, who that's being directed at, I'm afraid. So we've got the top car go through. There's the second place car now, Victor Newman, 15 seconds adrift of the race leader. Now that's James Walker going through, and there's Richard Morris going through. And what's the gap between them this time? It was 8.36 seconds. It's now 3.3 seconds.
Could Richard Morris get back to second, I wonder? He's 9 seconds behind second place, and he's 4 seconds of that fast, and there's 3 laps to go.
He might do, and he'd have to pass Ryan Yarrow, of course, to get there, and Victor Newman. He's got 3 cars ahead of him, so 3 cars between Richard Morris and second place. It's been a good comeback, this. He knew really that today it was just go out and do what he can, because it was more Ryan Yarrow's championship to lose than his to win today, the way the situation was coming into this weekend. So there's James Walker in 4th place at the moment. He finished 9th in yesterday's race, so a much better performance from James today. We've seen him on the podium in the past. There's 31, Colin Spicer just chasing after Colin Chapman, who has made it into the top 10 now. So Colin Chapman and Colin Spicer there in 10th and 11th position. Heading off up to Wilson Hairpin. And there we have Richard Morris right behind number 20 now. So what was 3 seconds or so at the start of the lap is now basically nothing as they come onto the Bentley Straight. And Richard, who spends a lot of his time working on Racing Pride, the organisation that he co-founded to promote LGBTQ plus inclusivity in motorsport, makes up a place there on James Walker and goes through into 4th position. So next car on his list of those to attack is his championship rival Ryan Yarrow. And they head through the bomb hole now and on towards Coram. The two of them nose to tail, the Works Spire, the silver and orange colours of Richard Morris just behind the white or pale silver and blue car of number 54 Ryan Yarrow, the driver from Rochdale. Turning their way through Murray's, 2 minutes 48. So there will be 2 laps to go at the end of this one, won't they? Richard Morris getting a good run on Ryan Yarrow, and I imagine here that Yarrow will have a bit of a championship head on, won't he? And he's alongside Richard Morris as they head up towards Rich's corner. Almost a side-to-side bump, but it's Morris that goes through.
Quite clever there from Richard Morris, because he put Ryan Yarrow on a tight line, which will fall him into the clutches of James Walker, and Michael Roots is catching them quickly too. So if Yarrow was to fall to 6th, would that give Richard Morris a chance here? Because I think he's got the pace to pass Victor Newman yet. He hasn't got the fastest lap anymore though, because that's gone the way of Richard Miles. Yeah, 2:02.24. He's gone a little bit quicker again now, which is inevitable really, because he's got a clear track, whereas Richard Morris has been busy trying to battle past people, which he's done successfully. He's got 4.5 seconds to make up on Victor Newman at the start of the lap, and he's already made inroads into that, I think. So now it is Michael Roots up with the battle between Ryan Yarrow and James Walker. So there's Walker ahead of Roots. James Walker does really well in this car, doesn't he? Because it is a bit older than those he battles with, and he's actually in this race a long way ahead of anybody else of that sort of slightly earlier era of Spire. What that type of car was that, about 10 years ago, something like that, when Tim Gray was winning the championship. Yeah. We could get into a situation where we just need to be a little bit careful, because Richard Morris has some penalty points from Silverstone, and I know there's a bit of an ongoing situation with that. So if he finishes within 4 points of Ryan Yarrow, then I think we can only at best describe a provisional champion anyway. He's not in that position yet. But he is right with Victor Newman to go for second. And that could
bring him a little bit closer, certainly.
Particularly if Michael Roots can get past Ryan Yarrow before the end.
Yeah, absolutely right. So you've got Richard Morris and Victor Newman. We've had Rich Miles go through already to take his or take the last lap. Well, he would have done if it had been one, but he's on to his final lap. And there goes Rich Morris. He's alongside Victor Newman as they head up towards Rich's corner. Newman not making it easy, though, for Richard Morris, who does, though, sweep through around the outside into Rich's corner and up into second position.
And behind Michael Roots is challenging Ryan Yarrow. Can Roots go through for fourth? He was right on the gearbox of Ryan Yarrow going across the line. We look back, and they're still side by side. Ryan Yarrow's thinking, how far can I fall back here? Because now he's down to fifth position because the Mattel of Michael Roots has passed him round the outside at the hairpin.
I think he'll still be. I think he'll still be all right. Actually, I reckon fifth place was going to be enough for Ryan Yarrow, come what may, whatever Richard Morris could do. But as I say, this is all provisional, pending any further changes from MS UK in terms of the point situation.
So are we into that 4 points difference now?
Not quite yet. It would need Richard to win this race, Richard Morris to win this race, which I don't think he is. The gap at the moment is 5 points.
Okay, so he gets the fastest lap here, which he may do if he can push on this last lap. So it's right in the then penalty points. If they weren't there, this would have been getting very excited indeed, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Fourth there is Michael Roots, then in the number 5 car. There, though, is Rich Miles. And it's been a good drive from Rich. He's had a good couple of races, actually. He was third in yesterday's race, but a really good performance. And it's so good to see someone just come out for the first time, only time this season, get into the car and bring it home for a victory. So the final round of the ZAMP Helmet Sports 1000 Championship is won by jubilant Rich Miles. Many congratulations to him, and it's a very convincing victory as well.
And on that last lap, he got into the 2:01s, which is only 3.5 seconds off of the lap record. So we get into pretty good lap times as well. So
what can Richard Morris do on his final lap? He should be coming up to the line any moment. We've got Colin Spicer and Ian Kempson having a battle for 11th and 12th position. They're down at Agostini, and they're side by side. Well, Richard Morris comes across the line in second place, and he doesn't get the fastest lap point. He was 3/10 slower than Rich Miles, although he did do his personal best. So he will get 27 points for that. And Ryan Yarrow has come across the line now as well to take fifth position, and with that 21 points, so he will finish the season after drop scores by Mario Martin 199, Richard Morris on 194, and so 5 points between them. And so that should mean that provisionally, at least, Ryan Yarrow is the 2020 ZAMP Helmets 750 Motorcycle Sports 1000 champion. Many congratulations to him. Just to go through the finishes then, it's 24, Rich Miles the winner, 2, Richard Morris in second, 67, Victor Newman in third place, number 5, Michael Roots in fourth position, 54, Ryan Yarrow fifth, James Walker number 20 in sixth, and then it's a long gap back, Josh, to seventh position. Indeed.
Interesting to see how Victor Newman and Michael Roots' races went. Totally opposite to one another, but they finished just 0.4 of a second apart in the two teammate Mattel cars. Eventually, Phil Hutchins has come through seventh, Tom Johnson eighth, and Colin Chapman is battling with Cole Austin on this last lap, and Colin Chapman's got through and will finish in ninth position in that 200th race, which is a great feat in club racing, isn't it? 200 races in one category. Well done to him for counting as well. And yes, to stay in one category where you've been changing through cars, really great to see the support.
It's a good job he wasn't relying on you to count how many races he'd done, Josh, after yesterday.
It is.
But anyway,
get to 6, let alone 200.
Well, he's got a long way to go against some drivers who've had more than that many wins by a factor of several times. Anyway, we have had, I think, nearly everybody across the line now. Yes, we have. And do we have drivers into Parc Fermé? Yes, we do. I can see there's various celebrations going on. It looks like Rich Miles' team very pleased, as well they might be, with the outcome of that. I'm sure Ryan Yarrow will be pleased with the outcome of the race as well, the outcome of the championship as well, although he only finished in fifth position there, enough by my reckoning for him to wrap up the championship despite that good comeback drive from Richard Morris there. But
Yarrow's first finish outside the top 2.
Yeah, had that DNF, didn't he? But aside from that, he's always been in the top 2. Anyway, it looks like we are pretty much in a position now to head down to Matt Suckling once again to talk to some drivers, this time from the Sports 1000 Championship.
Yeah, down here with our race winner from that Sports 1000 race, which is Rich Miles. Rich, you impressed yesterday with third place. You absolutely blitzed that race. That was a cracker. How did you find it?
We just, same as everyone else, I think we were torn on what tyres to go on for the start of the race, and we're not in the championship, we've got nothing to lose. So we thought we'll just butt on some dries, see what happens, and also it paid off. So that was good. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, your first weekend out racing with Sports 1000 this weekend. It's been pretty good with the two performances. How did you kind of bed into that race? Because there was tricky parts around the circuit. It was dry and it was getting quicker a lot throughout that one.
Yeah, it was literally just about finding where the grip was. And to be honest, on lap 1 and 2 it was quite slick. But after that it basically just dried in. So it was actually quite easy. Like, not that I'm trying to sound like an idiot, but the car was just great. I just want to say, and that's really cliche, but thank you to Tim Gray, my dad and my brother. Without the three of them, it wouldn't have been possible. So, really appreciate it.
For next year, what's the plan? Is it more of this or something different?
Yeah, no, we really want to do the full season, depending how work goes and how the world goes. But hopefully, we'll be here.
Good stuff. Well done to end the season with a win, and good luck for next year.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
There we go, Rich Miles then down here, who finishes as our final race winner of Sports 2000 in 2020. Let's see if we can grab a quick word with a few more drivers. I think Rich Morris has disappeared, unfortunately, but let's see if we can grab a word with Victor Newman. He is currently just being weighed by the scrutineers, but he's near enough done. He's just going to take his race helmet off, so we'll see if we can grab a quick word with him. And also our champion, of course, provisional, as you guys have mentioned, for this year, which is Ryan Yarrow. We'll see if we can grab Victor over here before he drives off, like everyone else has done, but he's going to come and join us now for a quick chat, which is good, and we'll see how he found that race in what were changing conditions, and we got a lot better towards the end, of course, with the dry conditions, but Victor, I'm sure, is very happy with his second podium of the weekend. Well done, Victor. Many congratulations on third place there. How did you find that race with the conditions out on track?
Well, we were out on wets, which was, I guess, not the right decision, but was great. So a bit slippery in the end because it was all dry, but it was great.
Been a great weekend for you, a second and a third place. I know this year you've been searching for that elusive win in Sports 2000. It has nearly come, but a lot to learn for next year as well.
Yeah, so close, but yet so far. So yeah, a lot to learn for next year, and we'll see next year anyway.
And in terms of this circuit this weekend, how have you enjoyed driving around Snetterton?
Beautiful. It's an amazing track, so tough, so long, and as soon as you're up on the pace, it's just amazing.
Well, good stuff, Victor. Well done on your podium there.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you. There's Victor Newman then in what's going to be third place in that race. As we said, Richard Morris has unfortunately left us. It would have been great to hear his thoughts about the start of the race, but as many people have said with the tyres, it has been a kind of slick or a wet day, and I think Richard Morris went for the slicks there, so that's what paid off for him. Let's try and bring in another of our drivers down here in Parc Fermé. We'll see if we can have a quick chat with Michael Roots, who's just pushing the car through as well, and a big round of applause from the Mattel team down here after that race. And then we need to grab a quick word with Ryan as well just before we disappear, because as we said, he could be the provisional champion for this year. Michael, come and join us in here. Well done, congratulations on that race. You were pushing through the field really hard towards the end there. Why was that? Was it a choice of tyres?
Yeah, we took the risky option, going on the dry tyres. So yesterday I had some clutch issues, I was pole and that all went wrong, so we thought, well, it was actually the position for this race was given on the speed of the first race, so that was obviously shocking. So took a risk basically. It kind of paid off, I think, but it was actually really quite a good fun race. Not the result I wanted, but good fun nonetheless, yeah. And
I think you and Richard both went with the same tyre choice there, because you were following him through the field. We could see the lap times coming down. We could see the positions changing each lap as well. But if a few more minutes were added to that race, it could have been a lot better. It could have been a 1 and 2 for you two.
Yeah, I think definitely, yeah, another lap and it was obvious I would have got second, but I wouldn't have been able to get a win, and that's why I'm here really. It's my first year, so I'm learning. So Richard's obviously got that few more years on me in the cars, so yeah, I'll come back next year learning that I can push a bit harder, because ultimately he was quicker on the same tyre, so didn't deserve to win. I've got to learn that and correct that for next year.
And of course, with all the learning you've done this year, I know we haven't had a full season unfortunately, but 2021 could be a good one for you.
It's been full enough for me. My bank balance is pretty empty now, so yeah, it's kind of suited me in a way. But yeah, so this was a learning year. A few things to tweak here and there in me and the car, and yeah, I'll come back next year and hopefully be a bit further at the front.
Well, good stuff. Unfortunately not a podium for this final race, but still a good performance on those tyres, and good luck for next year.
Great, thanks a lot.
There we go then. Michael Roots is the man who we have a quick word with there. And we're going to try and bring in as well Ryan Yarrow, who finished at that race just inside the top 5. We unfortunately didn't have time to talk to him yesterday due to a few technical issues. But Ryan, you joined us here in that one. Top 5 finish, all provisional at the minute, but you look like you may be the 2020 champion.
Yeah, I knew that was about the worst I could do, and I was trying to do the maths while I was driving round. I thought I'd made the right choice early on because it seemed quite damp, and then after about 3 laps I thought, nope, you've made the wrong choice. But I think I made the safe choice because I didn't really care where I came in this race as long as it was enough. So yeah, it's not really sank in yet. I'm not going to start doing I can't do cartwheels, but I'm not going to start trying yet until anyone tells me it's official. But,
and I'm sure there were many things going through your mind in that race. As you said, the tyre choice was the first one. The weather this weekend hasn't really played your part. The result from yesterday was fantastic. But then I'm sure as soon as you saw Richard Morris go past, you thought, what do I need to do now? What's going to happen here?
Yeah, I knew that if he won, the worst I could do was like 4th. So then I thought, well, he's not going to win because Richard Miles was miles ahead. Yeah. So yeah, I was fairly comfortable that it was enough, but I could still see James in my mirrors all the time. I thought, you need to keep trying. Like, my mind was going all over the place. It's not been ideal weather and conditions to try and seal a championship in, so I'm just relieved more than anything.
And in terms of this season, it has been a cracking year for you. We know that champions are crowned in terms of consistency, and you've had a really consistent year.
Yeah, we've just got the car to a point now where I don't really have to touch it an awful lot, and quite different to last year. I was always messing with it and I couldn't find a sweet spot, and we've just hit on it, and it's working. And other than minor adjustments for the track and stuff, it means that you can just get in it and drive it and forget about all the how many clicks on here, how many, you just drive it and it'll be somewhere near. So yeah, it's just down to a lot of hard work over winter and stuff, really.
Well, it's been a great drive from you, a great team effort. As we said, it's all provisional, but I'm sure it'll be confirmed before too much longer. We'll let now you head off and let it all sink in.
Thank you. Cheers.
There we go then. Ryan Yarrow, the man who finished inside the top 5 in that Sports 1000 race. Delighted, as we said, it's all the emotions going through his mind at the minute, everything that he needs to kind of work out. But he's done a great year, a great weekend here at Snetterton, and he, at the minute, as we said, provisionally is a Sports 1000 champion. That's it from down here in Parc Fermé for the time being. We've got lots more to look forward to this afternoon, but for now, let's hand you back to our commentators, Ian Soman and Josh Barrett.